Let's talk a little bit about audio, music and sound effects. Let's start off with music. Depending on the type of videos you're editing, the type of music you're going to choose can be very different. For tutorials like this, I usually prefer lo-fi music or musics that are tagged as ambient. They tend to be a little bit softer and they don't compete too much with the voice of who's talking, which is also another very important trick. Do not use music with lyrics when there's someone speaking. It just starts this competition between both audio tracks and you can't understand anything anymore. Now there are several platforms where you can find some very good music. Pixabay is a very good website, or even YouTube has an audio library with many songs that you can use. I personally use a platform called Track Club, in which you can filter the songs you would like with many different categories. You can choose which type of song, which kind of instrument, which kind of mood you want. It just makes it much faster to find a song to then be able to edit the video. Now, many people ask me if it's possible to use also copyrighted music in the YouTube videos, and the answer is yes, but no. The best scenario is when the music is copyrighted and the revenue from your video is going to be redirected to the owner of the song. The second and intermediate scenario is when the music is copyrighted but it's not available in your country. And since you're exporting the video with only one audio track where the song and the talking is combined, it's gonna make your video completely mute. But it's still not as bad as the third thing that can happen, which is the song being completely copyrighted and forbidden for use without prior consent, which means that your channel can even get a warning from YouTube because of using it. So generally, I would not recommend you try. Now let me show you inside DaVinci how I work with music so that you can do it in your videos too. Now here in the media pool, you can see that I have one song here and you can see already the waveform. To add it to your video, all you need to do is drag and drop it inside the timeline like this. And you can see the waveform already. Let me close here the media pool so we can see it a little bit better. And we have the whole waveform over here. And now you can listen, both my voice and the song, but being this loud, it's almost impossible to understand what I'm saying. So something very important to understand is the relationship between the volume of the talking head and the music behind it. And as soon as you play it, you're going to be able to see the levels right here. And there are two ways of changing the volume of these tracks. The first one is just coming to the inspector and doing it with the volume slider over here. The second one is using the mixer. And there's also a third one which is doing it directly on the timeline. As you can see, there's this white line over here. So if you drag it up and down, you can see how even the waveform kind of reflects how the volume is changing. So let's just make a rough adjustment here by making the song way lower, like for example minus 37 dB, and putting the voice here around 6 or 7. And let's see how it sounds. Insert any other kind of scenes or edit something different. Okay, now it seems much better. And usually the trick is keeping a relationship between the volume of the audio and the volume of the song being at least 20 dB apart. Meaning that if the voice is reaching about minus 12 dB over here, the song should be roughly minus 30 or minus 35 dB. This is a general rule, but you can go by ear, just checking more or less if the song is a little bit more aggressive on the ears or a little bit less. Now, another trick you can use is to lower the volume of the song whenever someone starts speaking. So, for example, if you have some B-roll, some images going on, and then someone starts speaking, you could just lower the volume in that moment by altering it directly on the timeline. So let's say, for example, that this part of the clip here, I want the song to go lower a little bit. So what we can do is we can come here to the beginning and we can create keyframes inside the volume also. The moment you position the cursor over here, you're going to be able to see this double-sided arrow. You can hold Alt or Option on a Mac and click here and a little bit after. Go to the end of that portion that you want to lower the volume, Alt-click and Alt-click here. And this is just going to create a separate portion of the volume that you can drag up and down independently and just raise or lower the volume depending on what you want to do. And if you're happy with it, perfect. But if you feel like you have to adjust it a little bit, you can drag these keyframes forwards or backwards, up and down, still here in the timeline. Okay, this is probably everything that you're going to need about audio at this time. Now, sound effects. Also in the resources panel, you're going to find many links to websites that offer you free sound effects. Mainly freesound.org is a very good resource, and Pixabay is also very good. But inside DaVinci, there's also a sound effects panel that doesn't come by default. If you come up here to sound library, now in mine, you are going to be able to see this panel over here. If you're not seeing it and you're seeing a download button, you can click on it. It's going to download this library for you, and you just have to install it separately. And then just close DaVinci, reopen it, and you're going to be able to see exactly what I'm seeing here. So let's say, for example, that I want to add a sound effect for one of those text animations that we did in the text lesson. So I'll just go back here to that portion where the black bars come over the screen, and I'm going to search for whoosh here in the sound library. The whoosh is just this type of sound. Okay, and all you need to do to add this is drag and drop it on the timeline, like this. Very easy, very simple, handwritten effect. And now you have a small sound effect to enhance the quality of your video. Now, this sound library is a little bit strange in the sense that you can't really see everything that is there, you have to search for it, but I'm going to leave a list of common words and common sound effects that you can search here, and that might be useful to your videos and where to use them. Just one quick remark, here in the timeline, pay attention to the audio tracks if they're marked here to stereo or if they are as mono. So it's going to appear one and say mono here. The songs usually come as stereo, but the sound effects many times you're going to download and they're going to be mono, which means that if you use headphones, you're going to clearly notice that the audio is coming just from the left or from the right. So normally you have to change the track type to mono so that you can be sure that it's going to be playing on both sides and not just one. Okay, that is enough about music and sound effects, but we're not done with audio yet. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about voiceovers.